Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome to this episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today we're visiting the beautiful pastures of Singing Hill Ranch in Dripping Springs, Texas, home to a growing herd of registered Texas Longhorns and other breeds. I'm your host, Molly Clubb, and I'm excited to take you on another journey into the world of Texas Longhorns and the breeders who care for them with today's guest, Matt King. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Molly. I'm honored and truly flattered to be on the podcast with you.
Well, go ahead and just start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and your journey into Longhorns.
Yeah, so I was just a small town boy out of Wisconsin. I was born and raised not on a farm, but in farmland of Wisconsin. Never have been around livestock, never have been a rancher or a farmer. Actually didn't own my first pair of cowboy boots until a couple months ago when we bought the ranch here. My wife and I have lived here in Austin, Texas for about 11 years now. I run a family office out of Austin, Texas, and then own and operate some businesses that I own. And my wife and I have 3 beautiful kids. My parents moved down here in September of 2023. And so when they moved, I was like, okay, we've got to get my in-laws down. And my wife is an only child. And there's a ton of studies out there, by the way, that shows when grandparents are around grandchildren, it actually prolongs their life. But it also makes us happier too. And so I was like, trying to get my in-laws down here and was like, hey, what would it take to get you to move to Austin? They were like, have a kid. That was 5 years ago. That was BS. They didn't move. They're like, have another kid. That was 3 years ago. That didn't happen. So like, I understood that this have a kid notion like was BS, but we tried a third time. That didn't work either. And so finally I kind of recognized that my in-laws have, 7 or so acres in Wisconsin. They don't have any cattle or anything like that, but my father-in-law is a very handy guy, splits all his own firewood for the winter, is constantly working on the lawn, constantly working on small machines and equipments. And it finally registered with me, Molly, that if I had more projects for them to do, they would move. And so Singing Hill Ranch was actually bought and purchased as a lure, if you will, to try to get my in-laws to move down to Dripping Springs or Austin, Texas. And actually the name Singing Hill Ranch, my in-laws live on Singing Hill Road in Wisconsin. My wife and I met on Singing Hill Road in Wisconsin. And so when we bought the ranch and we drove up the driveway, drove up the hill, it was like, it hit me immediately like, this is Singing Hill Ranch. Like, again, trying to lure them into coming down here to Austin. And so I got into this industry really as a way to try to get my in-laws down to Texas. I bought my first Longhorn off of Craigslist. I had no idea about the pedigree, the money, the genetics, the horn. Like, I just knew them as these beautiful animals that happened to be the mascot for the University of Texas. And I was like, well, if we live in Austin and live in Texas and we have a ranch, like, we have to have Longhorns. And so I just got into the industry through Craigslist, got very fortunate to be connected with some incredible people that have showed me the ropes, have, really educated me on this industry, the pedigrees, like everything that there is to know about Longhorns. And now I've just kind of fallen in love with everything that is ranching and Texas Longhorns. It's been such a fun journey.
So I have so many questions just from your opening here. Did your in-laws move?
No, ma'am.
Oh, not yet. So does that mean like your family's going to grow? Are you going to buy another ranch?
Yeah. So where we're at today, my in-laws did buy a truck. So they do spend more time here now because of the ranch than previously. My wife and kids spend the summer still in Wisconsin. I go back and forth all summer. It gets hot in Texas, obviously. So I'm just trying to get them to come down here 6-ish months of the year. We're actually trying to buy land from the neighbor. The neighbor has 2,700 acres that has been in the family for a long time. So I'm trying to get them to carve off like a small little like measly 200 acres so we can grow our property, which is currently only 20 acres. The vision with that would be we would build a house on the 200 acres, leave the farmhouse that is here still on our property, as my in-laws' place, could even build something for my parents and have everybody on a compound, if you will. I have this dream or this vision, Molly, of like my kids getting on the four-wheelers and the dirt bikes and riding over to grandma and grandpa's for dinner and like just having them around. So that's the plan, that's the vision, but I'm also doing it all now with the understanding that my in-laws may never move, and that's okay too if they choose. I just want to make sure I do everything in my capacity to try to get them to move.
So one of my other questions is, so I also spent my summers in Wisconsin. That's where my family's from, my grandma's from. And I often get told when I interview Texas from people that I have the all Wisconsin accent.
Yeah.
Where's this for you? I'm not hearing it at all. Is it hidden now that you've been in Austin so long?
It is hidden. You'll find it in like, things like potatoes or, pajama. Like you'll find it in the words and stuff like that. But I definitely have masked it with the y'all and the Texas thing. I don't have the Southern draw or any of that stuff yet, but I do have the Wisconsin accent that will pop out, especially like when you say Wisconsin, like you kind of get like the Wisconsin like kind of thing. It definitely shows up for sure.
So another important question, I feel like, are you a Badger fan or a UT fan?
Yeah, so I definitely grew up a Badger fan. Fortunately or unfortunately, the first year we were down here in Austin, we went to a UT game. We actually now have season tickets, and the tickets were on the 50-yard line in the front row. If you've ever been to a Texas football game, you understand this. If you've never been, you won't understand this. Texas football is just different. And so once I went to the UT game, like everything now in the house is burnt orange. Like I'm a Texas fan through and through. I don't even pay attention to the Badgers anymore. It's just Texas football is just different. It's just very different.
Definitely nicer weather as well.
Most of the year. The summers suck.
Well, for football games, I meant maybe.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All right. Well, getting back on track here, you responded to Craigslist. You got a few Longhorns. Tell me about how that evolved to where you're at today.
Yeah, so it started with 5 Longhorns. So we actually closed on the property while we were in Hawaii. We got back from our trip to Hawaii. There was 10 Black Angus on the property. I had those sold before we actually even closed. So the first day we came out to the ranch was a Saturday. My parents were here, our family friends were here, our kids were here, and the day was just like Christmas. So one moment a tractor gets delivered, the next moment four-wheelers get delivered, then 1 Longhorn, then 4 more Longhorns. And so it started off as like 5 Longhorns. I'm like, oh, I'll have this cute little herd of Longhorns. And, I was so delusional as to like the catch pen system and the chute I would need. Like I was just delusional. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, oh, this one's pretty. Oh, this one's pretty. This one's pretty. And I got very fortunate that one of the cows that I was able to purchase was actually from Ray Webb with Webb Family Farms. And her name is April. And a long story short is I was like kind of getting the itch to add a couple more to the herd. And so I went to my trusty, reliable Craigslist because that was all I knew at the time. And I responded to this beautiful cow on Craigslist at like 10 o'clock at night on like a Friday night with the world's worst like text ever. Like, is she still available? It's like scammer 101 text. And I just, I just move very quickly. And I got very fortunate that text was to Etan Barham. So Etan and Sandy. And I still don't know to this day why Etan responded to the text, but he did respond to the text. He started asking me some questions. I'm like, yeah, I got this cute little herd. And I sent him the animals I had. And he's like, I sent him pictures because I didn't have hired hands. I didn't have, the Horns website. I had none of that stuff. And so he's like, is that cow's name April? And I'm like, yeah, that's April. He's like, I bred April. Like, I know April. Like, it was just the crazy, most like serendipitous thing of like, he actually knew that cow very well. He knew Ray very well. Him and I got, into discussions and conversations. I ended up buying that cow from him as well. And then just one thing led to another and it snowballed. We actually, of the 5 we originally purchased, we only still have April and the heifer calf that she gave us here when she got on the ranch. But all the other ones I've sold, I've transitioned those off of the property, definitely moved my program in more of like a genetics focused program, understanding conformation, pedigrees, all of that stuff. But it started off as just like a cute little hobby and really snowballed way quicker than I would have ever thought into actually becoming a program.
So what did that time frame look like? What span of time are we talking about?
5 months.
Okay. So
So I
very fast.
Yeah, I've got a problem in that, there's this saying in the industry, all hat, no cattle, right? A lot of people in life in general, not just in ranching, but in life in general, uh, do a lot of talking and don't necessarily do a lot of acting. Like it's hard to actually get into action. I struggle with the opposite. I don't really talk, I just go. And so I didn't do any research. I bought five and then I started meeting Eton and Ray and started learning from all these people. And it was like, okay, cool. Like I got to sell these instantly. I got to buy these ones. Like, and it's been really fast. And so our program, which started at 5, is now ballooned up. We have about 22 Longhorns on our property today. And it's all been over the past 5.5 months.
So is it like that with everything with the ranch? Like, do you just find yourself very excited and passionate about just all aspects, like making improvements,
Yeah.
improving the land, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's like that in all aspects of my life, but it's definitely like that in all aspects of the ranch too. So we got here, it was just an overgrown pasture with crappy fences, and I immediately like started tearing down trees. We've probably cleared, no joke, 300 or more cedars. I then saw the fence lines. I was like, hey, we can move these fence lines and add about 3 acres of pasture, bring everything closer to the house. So we demolished all the fences. We brought the fences closer to the house. We redid all the fences. Then I was like, oh, we need to have different water troughs. So we added water troughs. Like it's been like that for everything. It was like that for the miniature pigs. So I was like, oh, we should get some, mini pigs. Like that'll be fun. And my wife was like, no, no, no. And then she went to a petting zoo at the kids' school and she's like, there was a mini potbelly pig. It was really cute. I'm like, that doesn't sound like I can buy one, but it does sound like an invitation to buy one. So I went right to Craigslist, bought a mini potbelly pig, no research. Then everybody started giving me crap like, Frankie, which is the pig's name, like he needs a friend. So then I went to Craigslist and bought him a girlfriend. Again, no research. But then all of a sudden it dawned on me like these pigs are going to reproduce. Little did I know that pigs reproduce. They reach a reproductive age between 2 and 3 months and they're only pregnant for like 113 days. So now we're like patiently awaiting 12-ish miniature pig. Like, so all of the stuff in my life is very much go, go, go and figure it out later. There's a saying that I was taught from one of my old mentors, which was say yes and figure it out later. And that's really what I've done with the ranch and with our program here.
So going back to the Longhorn specifically and how you're now more focused on pedigrees and genetics, is there anything in your past that kind of parallels that, or were you starting completely from scratch with having to teach yourself, everything about how those breeding strategies would work?
Completely from scratch. I mean, there are some parallels in terms of like looking at investments and looking at animals and understanding like the return on investment. But I haven't had any experience in terms of like genetic programs or understanding pedigrees. And, I keep calling them family trees because it looks like a family tree to me. So like I didn't know anything about this, but for me, Molly, like my life has been built on mastery. Like I was a college dropout. I still haven't finished college. I've really built my life off of the motto of find the way or make the way. And so for me to learn pedigrees, I literally took the amazing software that you guys have developed at Hired Hands, went to a bunch of people's websites and started building these pedigree charts for myself in PowerPoint so that I could then print it and build a binder so that I could then write notes next to all the animals. And then I go into the Hired Hand website and I go to the closed lots and I research the animals and I look at the write-up that comes along with that animals to gain knowledge about that pedigree and, that sire and that grand dam. Like, so I'm just teaching myself all of this. Obviously, like Eton has been like invaluable, the amount of information he's taught me. I've been very fortunate to be connected to Randy Murray at New Age Cattle Company. He's taught me a bunch of stuff. I'm really just a sponge for information. And so like I will ask a million questions and I will actually take action on the information that I'm given, the advice I'm given. But I ask a bunch of questions and I use that as a way to educate myself, to retain information for myself, but also as a way to like check myself and like the thought process I have around building the pedigrees and going through the programs and understanding like, why did this cow bring that money and this cow brought that money and why did the horns go this way and why did that horns go that way? And, at the end of the day, they are wild animals. They're not wild, but they're animals. And so there is no perfect science. There is no perfect like analysis. But it is evident to me that there are past patterns and past things that do help predict future outcomes. And so I'm trying to lean into, when you mix oil and water, they're going to stay separate, right? Like that's what's going to happen, even if you mix it as many times as you want. And so I'm trying to now with my program understand what's happened in the past is going to be a predictor of what happens in the future. And so if I bring in these bloodlines, I'm going to get horns. If I bring in these bloodlines, I'm going to get body. And it's not guaranteed, but it's very likely. And I'm just trying to stack the odds in my favor to build a program that I'm proud of, that my family can have some fun with, and that can represent well if we ever do go to any sales or do anything like that.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink, we're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing canteracattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Are you a new Longhorn breeder eager to educate yourself on market trends and sale prices? Stay in the loop with our text messages. Get the latest updates, events, and insider tips on all things Longhorns delivered straight to your phone.
Stay informed by texting website to 888-700-8131, then reply with Longhorns. That's website to 888-700-8131. Sign up today and take your breeding program to the next level.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
So without revealing all of your cards and the knowledge you've attained from all of your hard work, tell me just a little bit about what some of your future plans or your future herd looks like in terms of maybe, color, genetics, I don't know, anything you're willing to share.
So like the number one piece of advice that I would give myself starting in this industry is less is more. I got just addicted to it and just started adding, and it was kind of like the spray and pray method of like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And I didn't have a vision for what my program was going to become. So if I had to give myself advice going back in time, I would say, hey, Matt, go look at a bunch of different websites through the Hired Hand website. Go understand a bunch of people's programs and answer for yourself, what do you like? Do you like the flat lateral twisty horns, or do you like the horns that go up? Do you like the big body or the small body? Do you like the solid color? Or do you like the multicolor? What do you want in your program? And for me, where I want my program to go is I really like that flat lateral twisty horns. Now, I think a lot of people in this industry like that too. But there's just something majestic to it. Like, I have cows on the property right now whose horns definitely go more up. But as I told my dad, who was out here the other day, I was like, we're not kicking any field goals with these cows anytime soon. So like, I want like the flat, lateral twisty horns. I love the coloring. I think they're like, they almost look like art. And so for me in the program where we're going, I like the color. I like things to have a lot of color to them. And then I would say like, understanding like confirmation and how confirmation is going to lead to that cow's ability from a mothering perspective has been something I've learned. So if you would have told me 5 months ago you're going to understand like the udder makeup of a cow, I would have been like, it's just a udder. Like, what do you mean the udder makeup? And now I understand like the difference in checking out the cow's bag and the importance, and is she a good milker and is she not, like, and why does that all matter? And so these are all things that when I'm now thinking through what our program looks like 3, 5, 10 years from now, it's definitely less is more. It's definitely more calculated in what I add and understanding why I'm adding what I'm adding. It's definitely still making sure that we've got incredible cows in the pedigree that we're bringing into our bloodlines and our program. But it's definitely leaning more towards that like lateral twisty horns, and the more color, the better for me. I just love the color. Now, I still have in our pasture some beautiful all red cows who have incredible pedigrees, and I think will do very well at some time when I do decide to sell them. But at the end of the day, if you said, Matt, what are you going to, wish that your crystal ball makes 3 to 5 years from now, it would be a cow with some good color and some flat lateral twisty horns.
Well, I just have to say how impressed I am. Like in 5 months to learn all of that is just, I mean, that's just incredible. So congratulations to you for putting in the work and making that happen.
Yeah, I think more congratulations to my wife, who gets to hear me go on a soapbox every night of like, oh, I was looking at this pedigree today in between calls and I saw this and I saw that. And she's like, but you can't do the dishes right now. I'm like, but wait, let me tell you about why we're going to do this with this animal. And we, one of the cows we have here, he's a little bull calf, and we're in the process of steering him, and we're going to sell him as a steer. And my daughter, 5 years old, is just beside herself. Like this little bull calf striker that we have he's absolutely gorgeous, and he's the most sweet, gentle, like awesome cow that we like. He just comes up to the fence and lets kids love on him and pet on him, hang on him. And so like now I'm in a hostage negotiation with my daughter on the way to church one Sunday because she heard we're selling Striker. And she doesn't want me to sell Striker. And now what am I going to buy her at Tractor Supply? And I'm like, I'll get you a toy. And she's like, I want 3 toys. I'm like, okay, fine. You can have 2 toys when we sell Striker. So like the whole family has really gotten into it, and it's been really fun for us to discuss. And, they're all still learning the different genetics and the reasonings and the logic. And I don't expect them to care about it as much as I do. But I am trying to bring my family along on this journey as to understanding like why we're building the program we're building and what we want to be known for.
Well, I feel like anyone that has a family involved with it, there's always going to be a few cows that are forever cows, right? They're never going to leave your ranch because there's that emotional tie to those first few you got.
Yeah, there definitely is one for sure. So April, who we bought off of Craigslist, she had her calf here at the ranch. It was the first calf ever born. And her heifer calf was born in August. And so we named her heifer calf August. But we call her Augie. And April was just an incredible mother in that she almost like told us, you can let your kids pet her. So the day that August was born, she left August by this brush pile, and kind of like walked to the other side of the pasture and like kind of watched us all be able to pet and love on little Augie. And so like August for us is a cow that I can't ever see us selling. I mean, it was the first one ever born here at the ranch. The kids got to pet a day-old Texas Longhorn, which like never in my wildest dreams would I ever have thought would be possible. And so that's the one that I probably would say like no chance she's ever going to get sold.
So who are some of your favorites that are more your favorites because of their genetics or their horn set, or maybe they're still calves that are coming up with the breeding you had planned?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to be able to buy a cow from Randy Murray called Golden Vanna. And Golden Vanna had a beautiful heifer calf by side when we bought her, that we've actually named Golden Rose. And Golden Rose is just a beautiful, beautiful cow. We're actually consigning her to the Texas Treasure Sale, which I'm excited to be a part of some of these sales and see what they're all about, because I've never even been to one. But Golden Vanna is one I'm really excited about. We have a cow named Misty that we were able to get from Eton and Sandy that we're very excited about. She's got some incredible horns. She lost about 4.25 or 4.5 inches on each side from some frostbite one year. But she's got some really good bloodlines, really good genetics. We're excited about another cow we actually got from Eton and Sandy called Emmy Blue, who is bred back to catch, that we're really excited about. So we've got like some cows that we're really excited about. And then we've got some cows that gave us incredible babies that we're now ready to move on. So I was fortunate to buy a cow named Casanova's Candy, who was bred or AI'd to Hubble's 20 gauge for a heifer calf. And so we have a heifer calf out of Casanova's Candy, who we call Liberty because she was born on 9/11. And so I'm very excited to keep Liberty in our program, but Casanova Candy will transition out of our program because we've gotten that heifer calf from her.
Who are some of your favorites outside of your herd that when you've been doing your genetics research really appeal to you for one reason or another, whether it be bulls or females?
Yeah, so there's a lot in this industry. There's a lot of really cool people that I have yet to meet, but feel like I know because I've listened to every Hired Hands podcast you guys have ever done. And I've listened to all of the, from every possible walk of life, like people in Montana, all the way to people here in Texas to, people in the Midwest. It's been really fun to hear what everybody's up to and hear what everybody's focused on. I'm really excited to pay attention to a cow that Eton and Sandy have named RJF Cowboy Reb. He goes to Cowboy Tough on the top and JP Rio Grande on the top. And then on the bottom is HR Awesome and Rebel HR, Rebel HR is the bull. And I think they just recently measured him at 38 months or something like that. He's already 82 inches tip to tip and throwing off some incredible color. So I'm excited to watch him and what he does in this industry. I love Capital Attire that's in Randy's herd. Formal Attire on the top, Capital Tantrum, I think it is, on the bottom, like 88.5 inches lateral twisty horns tip to tip at 4 years old. One of my favorite cows, which I actually have co-ownership in one of her granddaughters, one of the granddaughters, is Tempting Call, black and white lateral twisty 95-inch cow at Randy's program, New Age Cattle Company. So there's a ton of cows that I'm really excited to watch and pay attention to. I love watching other people in this industry do well with their program. I love talking to people about their program. I'm fortunate to talk to Eton and Sandy almost daily about what they're doing and the heifer calf they have, or the one that just was born that should have been a heifer but is a bull calf, and what their plans are and how they're thinking about using different things and different bulls and their programs. Like I just love watching other people bring their vision to reality outside of this industry. And so now doing it in this industry has really brought me a lot of joy and a lot of excitement. And so it's really cool to see what people are doing virtually. I've yet to get to a sale, plan to get to the treasure sale, plan to get to the Glendenning Fiesta, plan to start going to some of these things so I can look these people in the eye and shake their hands and just appreciate them and share with them the different knowledge and the different bits that I've heard on Hired Hand of, the importance of having the creep feeder and having the babies have access to the creep, just all of those things that I've learned from just listening to y'all's podcast. I'm excited to be able to see those people, look them in the eye and say wow, you're Bob Loomis, or, oh my gosh, I never would have thought I'm meeting these people. They're like celebrities to me because I've only experienced them in a digital setting. And so for me, they're like professional athletes. They're the best of the industry.
So a lot of times with experienced breeders, we ask them what advice they would give to new breeders, but I'm going to kind of switch the question up on you since you've came so far in such a short amount of time. If you were starting over, what wouldn't you do? What would you tell new breeders? Don't do this, or I learned from this. What would that advice be?
Yeah, my advice would be don't buy animals without a vision for what you want your program to be. I love nothing more than paying the hay man every time he delivers 18 bales of hay, but it's not cheap to feed your cows hay. And I would tell breeders, have a vision for your program and be very calculated as to the animals you add to your program, understanding that you only have so much land for them to live on. And you can supplement hay and you can supplement cattle cubes and you can do the creep feeders. You can do all of these things. But at the end of the day, nothing is quite the same as beautiful green grass for them to graze on. And so I would just say, have a vision for your program, where you want it to go. Understand that it is a long game. I think I got into this industry thinking it was normal business where I can just muscle my way and accelerate the pace by which I can accomplish everything I want to accomplish. And you can do a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, it still takes a cow 9 months to have a baby, and it still takes that heifer calf 13 to 14 months to be able to be bred, and then another 9 months to give you another offspring. And so, you're getting into this industry for the long game, and I didn't recognize that. The other thing I would say is like really have a plan as to how you are going to catch and work your cattle. I've been very fortunate that when we've worked our cattle, I've never done it with my wife, but I do understand that would be a quick way to divorce if I wanted that. When I first started, I went onto Craigslist and I bought some cattle pens system from a group called not PNC, Seven Peaks Barn and Fence, which they're phenomenal, by the way. Like, I can't say enough great things about this group. They've done awesome. But I bought a square system with one little holding thing that was connected to a doobie chute. And I put it in the middle of the freaking pasture behind a group of trees because I didn't want to see it from the road. And the first couple times we tried to catch the cattle to work them, it was like a 3-ring circus of like, okay, let's get them to follow us with the cubes. Okay, they spooked by the gate. Dad, go behind them. Oh my gosh, they just tried to run you over. Like, let's go this way. It was just awful. And so, I went to Eton and Sandy's and said, like, looked at their system and understood why they have what they have and how they have the collection pen and how they have the sorting pen and, why they did what they did, and was able to redesign my pastures when we went through the overhaul to actually understand how do I want to catch and work these cattle. And if I was giving advice back to myself, it would be, these are massive animals that while they can be as gentle as you could imagine, generally speaking, you can hand feed them, and some of them I can even love on and pet on and hang on. When you bring them around a pen, everything changes. And they are massive creatures. You can't predict what they're going to do. I don't have horses to help herd them. I don't want to chase them on 4-wheelers and dirt bikes and all that crazy stuff. And so, really understand that when you need to work these animals, which you will have to work them to get them fly sprayed, to get them dewormed, to get the vet checks, to measure the horns, do whatever you need to do, you want to make that as easy as you can for yourself, because it doesn't matter how easy you make it, it is still going to be complicated.
Is there any other equipment that you would recommend that folks purchase, whether before they get their first animals or very, very quickly after they get them?
I wouldn't say it's equipment that I would purchase, but I would encourage people to spend a lot of time on hired hands and looking at what you guys have been so good at doing in this industry, which is making it very easy for people to digest quickly pedigrees. And understand that, like, the greatest asset you are going to have in this industry is access to hired hand websites and like going onto other people's websites, looking at the pedigrees, understanding what's in their sale pen, understanding what's already sold, being able to look at cows, then take that cow, go back to hired hands, look at the closed lots from past transactions. Even if that cow never sold at an auction, you can still find somewhere in its genetics cows that have sold at the auctions. And understand that, like, what you guys have done with hired hands, I personally believe, being new to this industry, is the greatest asset for this industry. And it's free, right? Like, you can go on your website for free. It's very easy to use and to utilize. I think now, knowing what I know, I think it's really good to have a creep feeder if you can afford one. If you're going to have babies, it just helps not draw on the mom so much. It helps the babies develop more. I think that's a great thing to add. I've just added basic, red metal creep feeders from Tractor Supply. They're still not cheap, but I think that's important to have. I think you definitely need to think about your catch pen system and the chute by which you're going to use. We use Seven Peaks to help us build out the custom system that I designed, and then we use a PNC chute, which is never in my wildest dreams would I think I would spend the money that I spent on a cattle chute. Best money I ever spent. Like, it is the best chute. I mean, it's just next level, incredible, amazing. And then I think the last thing I would say, Molly, is just like, make sure that you enter this industry, again, not with equipment, but with joy. Like, I think if you are getting into this industry to just make money, you will be probably slapped in the face by the industry, like, not people in the industry, but by the cows. Like, I just don't think you get into this to make money. I think you get into this to have fun, make friends, build relationships, make memories with your family and the people you love. A byproduct of a good program can be money, no doubt about it, from what I've seen and understood in this industry. But at the end of the day, we are in this industry because we truly love these animals. We've grown very fond of these animals. We've really found a lot of joy in the breeding of these animals and the building out of our program. And bringing my family, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my children, my in-laws, like bringing everybody along on the journey has been the greatest blessing.
And now let's hear from our advertisers.
Hey, if you love From the Pasture with Hired Hand, why not go check out my podcast, The Big Iron Podcast with Andrew Shigori, where we dive into the world of registered Texas Longhorns and what it means to be an agriculture entrepreneur in the modern world, with a little southern flair, of course. Find the Big Iron Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
When it comes to buying and selling livestock, trust is everything. At Hired Hand Live, we have a platform that breeders and buyers rely on, whether participating in a live auction, an internet-only event, or hosting their own online auction. Our secure, user-friendly system ensures that your bid counts, and every transaction is backed by our commitment to integrity.
Whether you're a part of a consignment sale or planning your own internet auction, Hired Hand Live connects breeders and buyers live and online. Discover why breeders trust us with their livestock auctions. Visit hiredhandlive.com today. Well, with everything that you just mentioned, making it a family affair, your trek from Wisconsin. I don't know if you want to touch on all of the different breeds your ranch has grown to or not, but one question I have is about sustainability. Like, are you bringing any sustainable practices into the ranch, or do you hope to have some in the future just to kind of, give back to the land or that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so we do pasture rotation now. We've been fortunate to be able to divide up our pastures to be able to rotate the cows and try to protect the land. We have cleared out a ton of cedar trees, so my hope is that the grass and the oaks will thrive more. We've got some beautiful multi-hundred-year-old oak trees on the property in the pasture, so my hope is to be able to do that. We drag the pasture every 2 months so that the manure gets worked back into the ground to try to make the soil the best we possibly can. And then we're just utilizing all of it to our land for the most part to be grazed by animals. So again, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for the memories we can make together. My kids' first business is they sell farm fresh eggs. We have about 40 chickens. That was a whole nother story for a whole nother day on what we learned about chickens, but we have like a really cool system for the chickens now. I was delusional in thinking it would be cool to have zebras because I didn't know you could own a zebra. So why not own 2 zebras? So we have 2 baby zebras that are about 18 weeks old at the time of recording this. My kids were obsessed with Scottish Highlands. So we have a couple Scottish Highlands on the property, 2 females and a male. All of those animals are kept in a different area. Like they're in our center pasture, which is was a part of the driveway that we converted to pasture to try to utilize more of the land and give back to the land a little bit. But I'm always trying to just protect and preserve the land the best I can. And I say that sort of like delusionally now as I have 22 longhorns grazing on most of the grass. But we planted 2,000 pounds of winter rye this past winter. We're going to overseed this summer. We're going to rotate the pastures. We're looking at acquiring more land so we can, graze on more land. And then really just focused on the oak trees. So like in Texas, like these live oaks are absolutely gorgeous. They're massive and they're beautiful trees. But in Texas, cedars are, they spread like wildfire and they go underneath these oaks and they choke out the oak and they take all the water from them. And so being able to just clear up our fence line, clear up our lines of sight, be able to look at the beautiful hill country, be able to look at these beautiful oaks, like all of those things I'm taking a lot of pride in to try to maintain this land as naturally as we possibly can.
Well, I'm not sure how much you want to share about the personal side of your life, but you have a wealth of experience in marketing. What can you share with us, I guess, about what you're excited about when you can start to market the fruits of your labor in terms of the genetic research you've done and the animals you want to put your brand on and that you're breeding?
Yeah, so we did our first branding recently. That was a totally different experience. Like I had this delusional belief that I was going to have a level out there and we were going to do a chalk line on the animals and we were going to make sure everything was square and it was going to be beautiful. Like, wow, was I in for a rude awakening there? Like that was delusional. But for me, again, like it's all about making memories. And so, when we go to the first auction, like my in-laws are already coming down, my parents are going to go with us. We're going to take 88-year-old grandma. Like for me, it's all about the memories. And so like when I think about marketing or telling the story of what we're doing and the animals we have, I think about just like being totally raw and honest about what's going on and what we're doing. And like, I think the best way to market your animals is just like the love you actually have for them and the pride that you have in the program that you've built. I think, you can do things like create these beautiful flyers or these cool videos and hype, you can hype it as much as you want, but there's nothing quite like just telling the actual story of like, this was the first heifer ever born on our property and she was bred back to this incredible, like being able to articulate those stories, I think is the best marketing that anybody can do. And the only way you can do that is if you really truly understand the breed and the genetics and the programs. And this goes back to this kind of breeding, and this goes back to that kind of breeding, and this one's in this genetics, and this one's in this. Like, so for me, it's all about like the story, and really articulating it. And candidly, like most of the things I like to do, I like to fly below the radar. I don't really like to tell people what I'm up to. I like to let my actions speak louder than my words. And what I plan to do in this industry is no different. Like, I'm just a simple college dropout who just wants to spend time with my family and make memories. And if we can do that by, producing some incredible cows that bring people joy and happiness to their properties and their programs, like I can die a happy man. And for us, it's about like the memories we're making along the way. I don't really want to be this like big flashy, big truck, fancy, shiny trailer kind of guy. Like that's just not who I am. I'd rather just show up humble, hat in hand, be there to serve, be there to learn, help people. If I can take the knowledge that people like Eton and Sandy have given me and pass that on to one other person, like I will have done myself proud, and I will have given them the greatest gift that I've already received, which is people's time, people's knowledge, and people's love for this industry.
That's a great answer. Have you put the power of social media to work at all for Singing Hill Ranch?
Sort of, but not really. So when we bought the ranch, like I was like, oh, I'm going to start sharing some of this on my social media. And I have like, a whole other life that I run too. And so I have a team that manages my social media, do some speaking, working on a book, like doing all these other things. And so I was like intertwining my personal business life with the cow. So it'd be like post about what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden be like, let me introduce you to this flat lateral twisty horn. And like my team was like, nobody cares, dude. Like you love this stuff, but nobody else cares. And so they started making me post everything to Singing Hill Ranch's Instagram. And it's just like us sharing moments. Like over Christmas this past year, we had 15 families, 30 kids come out. We had a Santa Claus come out to the ranch. They did story time on hay bales. The kids were feeding the goats, cattle, like everything. And so those are the things that I'm sharing on social media. I'm not necessarily sharing what I'm doing with my program. The funny thing is we created this Singing Hill Ranch Instagram, and when the zebras came, we like posted and shared about them. And my insurance agent reached out to me and said, hey, we are going to have to find you new insurance. I was like, okay,
No.
like, more, what's up? He's like, the underwriter actually went to your social media page and then went back to the ranch page and is asking if you own the zebras because they don't insure properties that have zebras on it. So like, it's actually come back to like bite me a little bit. Now, I finagled my way to manage that process and not lose insurance coverage and find a new provider and do all those things. But like the power of social media, I haven't really even tapped. I've only tapped it as a way to gain knowledge, as a way to learn from people, and then as a way to share like the stories and the memories that are being made here, not necessarily what we're doing with our program.
So sticking on the topic of internet, have you participated in any of the Hired Hand live sales, whether it be the live auctions or maybe, a dispersal or the monthly sale?
I look at every monthly sale like religiously. I've been contemplating about putting a cow or two in the monthly sale just to participate and be a part of it. I did participate in the New Age Cattle Company Black and White sale. Purchased alongside of Eton and Sandy a cow and a heifer calf that came at side from that sale. So I have participated in those sales. And then I've watched like a hawk every sale that's happened, that you guys do such an incredible job of taking what's going on, in the auction barn or at the actual sale, and like live updating the website. And so I'm like on a Saturday glued to my phone watching the bidding and what's going on, and like, oh my gosh, that cow went for 30 and this one went for 16, and ooh, I thought that one would have done better than 12. I wonder what happened. Like, so now I'm really understanding what's going on, because I've like, as a spectator, been watching everything like crazy and really like become obsessed with it. And plan to now, get involved with some of the sales, sponsoring part of the treasure sale. Excited that that's going to be in the hill country here in Texas. Plan to participate in the Glendenning Fiesta. Excited to go see what they're up to and what they're doing and be a part of that. And then really looking forward to getting to some of the bigger ones in Fort Worth, whether it's the Hudson Valentine sale or the Legacy sale, or like other ones where it's just like everybody in the industry is talking about them. And I've participated on them virtually, whether like in live time or going back and looking at the auctions and seeing what was pulled and what wasn't pulled and what sold and stuff. And so now to be able to go and show up at these things and actually like understand what's going on, I'm really looking forward to.
Well, I have to warn you, for as exciting as it might be to bid online, when you bid on in person for that first time, or even win the cow you're bidding on in person for the first time, it's going to be a whole nother experience. So just prepare.
Yeah, I've already told my wife the first auctions we go to, we are absolutely not buying a pad or getting a paddle. We're not taking any money, because I just know who I am in my nature. I'm a very competitive human. And if I fall in love with an animal, I'm going to end up spending way more money than I want to be spending. And I'm going to get into like bidding wars that I have no business bidding wars around. So I already know, like, when I go there, none of that will be true. I'll have a paddle in my hand in the first 5 minutes and I'll have bought way more cows than I know what to do with. But I'm trying to hold steady on saying, like, we have enough animals here at our property right now. We have enough expecting. We've got some for sale. We're working on, trying to get rid of some of the cows who, candidly, if we had more land, would never go anywhere. Like, we bought them for a reason. I like how they look. I like their genetics. I like their pedigree, but we're trying to preserve this land. And so I really need to focus on maintaining a herd size of somewhere between 15 and 22, and understanding that those babies keep coming every year. And so I've got to make sure that I'm constantly recycling so that I can protect the land and protect the program that I'm trying to build.
Well, I have to tell you, some of those sales will accept this instead of a paddle if you don't have one or one of this. So
Don't tell me that. I'm not wearing a hat. I'm going to make sure no hats, no hands, nothing. I'm going to I just want to be a passive participant and watch.
Well, one more marketing question before we change gears here. What, as a new breeder or someone who was looking to do research and get into the breed, what was your biggest pet peeve when you would visit a website and couldn't, find what you were looking for, or what turned you away quickly?
Yeah, I would just say my biggest pet peeve, and don't go to my website because I probably am guilty of this pet peeve, but it's like a lack of story around the cow. Like, I love the suspense and like the mystique of there being no description and no measurements and no progeny. Like, I like that mystique in a sense, but for the new people in this industry, like, one of the best ways I think that we can educate new people in the industry on the programs and the genetics and stuff is having really good hired hand websites with updated measurements, with the progenies, with the pedigree, and then with the story around the animal. Like, where did the mom come from? What did the dad look like? Like, having that narrative, I think, brings it all way more to life. I was super naive in getting into this industry and just assuming like everybody's measurements would be legit and nobody would be like falsifying stuff and, all of that stuff. And, I think at the end of the day, my whole entire life, Molly, has been built on relationships and reputation. And I think like one of my pet peeves getting into this industry is a lot of people in this industry really pride themselves on the reputation and on, sort of understanding that their word is all we have at the end of the day. But like any industry, there's people here that are just trying to make money. And so you just got to make sure you look out for yourself. And you have really good people in your corner, whether that's just through listening to the Hired Hand podcast like I was able to, or whether it's like meeting great people through Craigslist like I was able to. Like, make sure you have good people in your corner that will truly help you navigate this industry, for the only reason as to they care about you and they care about you as a human. Like, like everything, there's always people trying to monetize stuff, and I don't shame them. I don't blame them. Like, I think everybody needs to make money. I think that's great. But I don't think at the expense of a newcomer in this industry. Like, the one thing I would say that I'm most excited about being in this industry, generally speaking, is the people I've met here have been so freaking awesome. Like, even from you guys, like emailing you guys like, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. How do I do this? Like emailing the TLBAA and saying like, I got no idea how to use this website, or what do I do with this certificate you just sent me? Like, everybody that I've talked to has been so giving of time, of information, of knowledge. The people have been so caring and so kind. If I've ever needed anything, people have answered the phone and have been there to give me advice and suggestions. And like, there's a Longhorn Facebook group. Like, I spend more time in the Longhorn Facebook group on Facebook than I do anything else, because there's just people constantly posting in there, this is the lick tub to use, this is the creep feeder to use, what do you guys use for a shoot? Oh, I use this one, here's why I use that one, here's where I go here, here's how I did this. Like, there's so much knowledge that's just being shared freely in this industry. Like, it's so cool to be a part of, and to be around people that are just so giving and so generous has been so neat for me to be around.
Well, I have some rapid fire questions here. Are you ready? Are you up for some?
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
All right. Morning coffee or evening sunsets on the ranch?
I'm not a coffee drinker, so sunsets.
What's your favorite ranch song or playlist, your go-to playlist when you're out there?
So there's a bunch of music that I like to listen to. Like, I'm a big Zach Bryan guy, but I also like the old school country too. There's a song by Guy Clark that talks about a young boy with a flour sack cape tied around his neck. And I pretty much listen to that song every time I come out here to work. It just talks about how you have big dreams, big ambitions, and you climb up on top of the roof of your garage thinking you're going to be able to figure out how to fly, and you jump and you see what happens. And that's been sort of the story of my life. And when I come out here, I just kind of like pinch myself, because I'm like, I knew nothing about any of this stuff. And here I was just taking a leap of faith and trying it and taking action and spending a lot of money and wasting a lot of money, and, watching fences be destroyed and fences built poorly, and I've made all the mistakes and more that I needed to make. But I'm really proud of myself that I've made those mistakes by just taking a leap of faith. And that's what that Guy Clark song talks about.
Well, I think I might know the answer to this one, because you mentioned earlier you bought your first pair of boots when you moved, but are you a boots guy or a sneakers guy for everyday farm chores?
Oh man, I'm a sneakers guy. So I've got my favorite pair of high top sneakers that I buy on Amazon. They're $25 a pair. I absolutely am obsessed with these shoes. Actually was on a business trip, and one of the shoe shine guys in the airport tried to shine them for me, and it's like, how much is it to shine them? He's like, $35. I'm like, dude, I bought the shoes for 25. Like, I just like simple, down to earth stuff. I have become a boots guy. My boots are broken in now, so I'm falling in love with them. But most days I'm just in my high top, junky Amazon sneakers, stepping in poop.
Farm truck or ATV?
Oh my gosh. I knew you were going to ask this question. So I'm embarrassed to admit this, that the truck I actually bought prior to buying the ranch is the truck I still own. And it's an electric truck. It's like the most anti-ranch cattleman thing you could ever do. Like, I pull up to Tractor Supply to pick up the bags of cattle cubes, and there's all these like dualies and belt buckles and cowboy hats, and there's me and my cute little Ford Lightning electric truck. So I definitely would say ATVs, because I'm somewhat embarrassed that I've got an electric truck as a rancher.
What's one thing you always carry in your pocket when you're at the ranch?
Pocket knife. I never ever carried a pocket knife before, but now I think it's like the coolest thing to have my pocket knife. And like, when I'm bored on a business meeting, I like pull it out and open it and close it and open it and close it. Like, I just feel like it's such a cool thing to have. It's with me all the time now.
If money were no object, what's one thing or one animal you'd add to the ranch?
More land. More land. It's like really the only limitation to your program outside of money, obviously, is land. And even, if you buy the right animals and breed them correctly, like, money becomes less of a limitation. You're just going to need more time. But for me right now, it's land. It's all about land.
Favorite farm movie or TV show?
I've never watched Yellowstone, but I'm trying to get into it. to learn about this industry. Actually, so I'm like a super big morning workout guy. So I have like a very strict morning workout sauna cold plunge routine. And every morning on the treadmill, I watch YouTube videos of like ranches in Wyoming and cattlemen here and stuff like that. And so it's not necessarily a show, but I love watching like these YouTube documentaries that are just like put together on like a real small budget that talk about these multi-generational farms and like the branding day and the sale day and the, you know, like the calf day. Like I've become obsessed with learning about this industry through watching other people and on YouTube, honestly.
All right, last one here. Let's go with, let's see, what would be the go-to hashtag for your farm?
Honestly, it would be no hat, all cattle. Like, I don't wear a cowboy hat. I look stupid in cowboy hats. I wish I looked better because they are cool. But when you really think about the meaning of that saying, like, less talk, more action. Like, just no hat, all cattle. Like, just keep taking action, keep moving forward.
Well, is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share with our listeners before we finish up here?
You know, like the last thing I would share, and I've touched on this a bunch, but like find a good mentor in this industry. And there's a bunch of them that I've experienced. It seems like everybody in the industry that I've come across has been very giving of their time, of their knowledge. You know, I truly believe that service is the Trojan horse to knowledge. So if you show up and serve the relationship and serve the mentor, they in turn will give you the knowledge and the experience that you need for your program. And like the other thing I would say, and I've touched on this a bunch too, but I just cannot express to you how grateful I am for what you guys have done at Hired Hands. Like being able to go to those websites, seeing the pedigree, being able to quickly click and go to this website and then that website. And the next thing you know, I'm on a breeder's website that I've never even heard of. And I'm learning about their program and their animals and their pedigrees that they're having. Like, it's been just really, really cool for me to get a crash course in learning. And so I'm just super grateful for what you guys have done with Hired Hands and how you guys have thought about building out the linkability to the animals and back to the programs and the pedigrees and the progenies and all that stuff. And it's just really been fun. It's just really been fun.
Well, thank you very much. I feel like we need to put like a disclaimer that you weren't paid for your opinions, because I feel like you said some very kind things. No, we really appreciate it, and that's what we love about it, is that folks enjoy using it. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's honest for me. I mean, there are some people that are very fortunate to be raised in this industry. Like they were bred in this industry, right? They've been around it their whole entire life. They were looking at, you know, conformation at age 5 and understanding a straight back and the flat stomachs and like the foots and the hoofs and the udders. Like they were understanding all that stuff at a young age. For someone like me, who's come in here with absolutely no experience, I don't know how I would have done it if it not be for the mentors and the relationships that I've built with the Barhams, and also the website, Hired Hand. Like the amount of information that is available, like I literally I would be embarrassed to look at like my screen time on my phone, but I probably spend more time looking at Hired Hand than anything else on my phone besides my email.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. I mean, again, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but like literally it'll be a Saturday night. We get the kids to bed and my wife's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "Oh, just looking at, you know, this breeder's website." Like, "What do you mean you're looking at M7 Longhorns?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just trying to see what they got. They got this cow on the sale and I want to like," she's like, "You got to get a life, dude." I'm like, "No, like this is my life."
There could be worse things, right?
There could be worse things.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. And thanks to our listeners for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope you enjoyed this visit to Singing Hill Ranch and learned something new about the world of Longhorns. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can always explore more stories from the Pasture by visiting their website or ours and following us both on social media. Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them special.
Imagine updating your website and managing your animals at the same time without needing tech experience. With Hired Hand software, it's that easy. Our user-friendly platform is designed specifically for breeders, allowing you to keep your site fresh and your animal records up to date in just a few clicks.
Let us simplify your digital chores while you focus on what you do best. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see just how easy it can be.